Welcome to this part of another soul-gripping testimony, delivered from deep darkness. This testimony may have visually disturbing scenes, therefore viewer discretion is advised. Please note that this is just one part in a series of videos of this particular testimony, so if you have the stomach for it, feel free to check out the entire playlist, Delivered from Deep Darkness, here on this YouTube channel. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Matthew 6:24. Considering all that you have read about my mother so far, I need you to understand my mother was convinced she loved God. God, or her concept of God, was the main pillar in her life. For her, this pillar was visible and almost tangible. From what my mother was taught, God was too far removed from mere man and was more effectively sought through a mediator. She, like millions of other Catholics, chose Mary and the other departed saints as their dedicated road to God. This is for sure one of the greatest deceptions in the kingdom of darkness affecting the nations today. This deception enslaves and defiles millions who have a heart to seek God. You, my reader, may have been or know people trapped in this snare. I am sharing this and praying that God will open the eyes of your understanding so you can see clearly, then run to Jesus for yourself or help others to seek deliverance. He came himself as a man and offered himself as the worthy sacrifice to redeem humanity to himself. In so doing, he now stands as the great high priest before God on your behalf. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in the time of need. Hebrews 4:15-16. Jesus asks that we come to him, but goes even further to knock on the door, asking for us to respond personally and invite him in. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in to him and dine with him, and he with me. Revelations 3:20. My mom did not understand this. She loved deeply and spent hours pouring out her heart to Mary. Mary was then her only solace. She prayed, Mary, you alone knew the mysteries of your son Jesus, so you understand my issues concerning my son James. As the angel Gabriel talked to you in secret about your son Jesus, I know you alone can understand the mystery of my son. This deep devotion to Mary intensified when I was once disappeared and was later pronounced dead. This disappearance was part of a mission that required declaring my death in the physical world. I was to take on another form of spiritual power far different from humans after the assumed 70 days of death. During the initiation for this transition, they tried my soul codes and discovered they were locked. Something beyond their understanding had interfered with the dedication and prevented my final soul coding. Another, even greater higher power was working in my soul. I was just 12 years old now, but Satan had invested a lot of his secret knowledge in me, which he could not now withdraw. He had planned to unveil great reptilian works through me in my generation and now was at an impossible roadblock. He had failed to access the seat of inheritance and the vault of destiny in my soul, and therefore knew he could not have full control over me. Attempts to erase my memory failed because I was positioned beyond all levels of hypnosis. Worse still, Satan could not kill me, because that meant self-suicide and condemnation to himself, for he lived in my body as a serpent. I could tell from the agitation within me that Satan was confused and frustrated with me. He could not fully manipulate the door of my soul without my own consent, and therefore knew he had to set up another manipulation to get that access. Satan decided to return me back to my mother and set another trap. News of my death was devastating to my mother. Some distant relatives and a few other villagers gathered for the funeral to mourn and comfort her in this time of great loss. There were few who sought to persuade her that the death of the demon's son was news to be celebrated. Her rosary was now like her royal diadem. After all the mourners returned to their homes, she held on to it as a sure bridge to her precious Mary. I would sometime position my spirit near my mother just to assure her that I was not dead, but could not break the terms of this new mission. I could hear her groan alone in that dark, lonely, deserted home. I wanted to talk to her, but the voice of my soul was locked away so she could not hear me. I wanted to touch and hug her, but my hands were with the guardians of death. I could see her, but her eyes were too dark to see my spirit around her. She cried every night to Mary. I kept wondering what my mother referred to as the mystery of this son. Why she insisted that this child is not for evil. Did she have any revelation concerning the future of this son? Did she get any special message the day she saw my star when she was chased from the forest the first time? Was she trying to withdraw the fate of her son from the first marriage in the forest and replace it with another one to marry? Was she not afraid of the powers I was serving? I thought the news of my death would make her rest. Instead, it gave strength to her zeal to contend for my destiny. The night before I returned, my mother had gathered the few people for Mass, petitioning for the lost son. She organized a novena and vowed to give him to the Queen of Heaven if I come back to her. The faint groaning of someone at her door woke her up in the middle of the night. I was thrown at her door weak and malnourished near the point of death. The serpent within me kept me awake as he violently trashed around, voicing his disappointment. His anger, however, was drowned out by my mother's screaming adoration to Mary, who had answered her prayers. To her, even the body of her son was precious. It was evident she had been fasting or eating very little during those days of mourning. She had grown so frail. Moving my body to the safety of the house was a Herculean task for her alone. After her initial wave of jubilation subsided, she picked up an old tin from the porch and banged on it, summoning the attention of the neighbors to help. The shouts and the beating of the tin did not yield any results, so she resorted to singing and praising Mary as loud as she could. She did not dare to leave her son outside to knock on the neighbor's door. What if the devil came and take him away again? That thought kept her guarded around my limp body. Even a few seconds to get a worn sheet from the house was too great a risk to consider. I remembered when her warm body covered mine, protecting me from the biting cold of 3 a.m. She cried and sang praise to Mary until help eventually came. Through her tears, she was also speaking to me, calling me all kinds of names to affirm her love for me. It was one of the village drunk that proved to be the hero that early morning. He was staggering along one of the branching paths near the home, close enough to hear my mother. He, loudly in a stupor state, inquired why this wizard was singing and crying at such a time. Everyone in the region called my mother a wizard. He wondered aloud if it was Christmas when even wizards go to church. As he walked away, he shouted, "You will not trap and eat my flesh, you wizard!" My mother, like the Syrophoenician woman in Mark 7:24-30, ignored the insults and pleaded to the drunkard, "Please come help this wizard save her son from dying in this coldness." I could hear every word, but I was too weak to do anything. I think out of curiosity, the man gathered courage and came close enough to investigate. They both dragged me into the house to begin my journey back to physical wellness. Immediately after I was strong enough to walk on my own, Mom arranged to take me to the bishop of our village parish to ensure I was secured in a spiritually safe place and to honor her vow to Mary. 4 parish priests were waiting anxiously for her when she arrived and enthusiastically offered to look after me. I was offered a full scholarship to seminary, along with a promise from these men of God to do everything in their power for me to become a priest. This to her was answered prayer from Mary. She remembered the Sultan's advice and the secret she kept concerning the future of her son. Her one prerequisite to these priests was strategic in her mind. They could take her son if they first offered him as a husband to marry forever. She understood very well that broken covenants had consequences. The only way to escape a covenant without its consequence is to engage with another covenant with greater power. Mary was more powerful than the mermaid witch. If Mary accepted me as her husband, the other covenant would be nullified without consequence. The priests gladly obliged and quickly baptized me and married me to the statue of Mary that stood at the entry of our church. If you have come this far, chances are high that you are loving this video. Please do me a favor and hit both that subscribe and like button to help this message to spread far and wide. Also, don't hesitate to check out the rest of the playlist, Delivered from Deep Darkness, right here on this YouTube channel. Thank you for supporting the Wake Up channel. God bless you.